Sup fellas, it's Metaverno here, and it's been a long while coming. It's taken me multiple more weeks than I thought it would off of episode 8 to make this video, going over all the suggestions that I have seen and could remember. So I am sorry if I missed yours, but I made artwork for every single character, and that's what took me so long. And some of the artwork's going to be scuffed because I kind of rushed some of it, but I did want my own artwork of a ton of Sonic characters for my channel, so I'll probably go back and touch them up over time. And I will be making artwork for the other Sonic characters that are already on the island, but I'll get to that when I have, time. So in this video, we're going to go over and just a quick recap of everybody I have been suggested, just so that you all know I have seen your suggestions, and I'm sorry if you've suggested something a long time ago and I haven't gotten to it. I wanted to kind of spread out people I took suggestions from and characters and all that, and it's definitely gotten a little out of hand. You guys suggested a ton of cool characters, and I at least want to represent them here. And I'm going to try and make me's for most of them over time, but I can't promise it anytime soon. This video is mainly to show off most of the characters I've been suggested, and kind of decide who the final couple on the main island are. By the time this video is being made, I've already decided on some of them moving to the second island, but some of them will still be represented in this episode. But just know I have already kind of moved a couple, but we can move me's back and forth and figure that out later. But yeah, so sorry for how long this video specifically took, and it's taken away from the actual Tomodachi Life series, because I haven't had as much time to make the me's. I do got new me's on the way, and depending on when this video is uploaded, you'll be seeing them either before or after. I don't actually know yet. But yeah, thank you guys for your patience on this video, and I hope this is at least slightly interesting. It's kind of rambly, but we're just going to go and touch on all the characters that have been suggested, in this however long this is video. But yeah, I tried my best to compile a ton of comments and stuff, and show off every single character that have been suggested. I do think I'm within the margin of error because I'm probably missing some stuff, but if I missed your suggestion, you can just leave in the comment and I'll add them to the list, But I want to do this to kind of show off, since we only have 10 characters left, and depending if I move the kids off the island, it would be 10, left to fit in. And I'm planning on, I need to see your guys' opinion on stuff. Zaz, I feel like might need to go to the second island so he can be with the whole Deadly Six. It's either that, or some of the final slots have to be completely taken up by the Deadly Six, which we'll have to see what you guys also think. So I'm probably going to be starting the second island in the next episode, possibly, so I can add me's, but not add them directly to the first one yet, because again, we only got 10 slots left. I'm going to show off all the suggestions I have, so we can maybe put up some polls, maybe just vote in the comments, and figure out who we want for the final 10 of the first island. But again, I'm very sorry if I missed your suggestion in this giant group of characters. Just put them back in the comments again. I tried my best, and if I missed any that I catch after I'm in the middle of editing this, they'll be at the very end with no paid voiceover for me, so that is my bad. I'm going to try my best. And you will see in the video if I failed this or not, but to keep consistency and having something for all of them for now, I wanted to make a doodle of every single character that I mentioned. Problem is that I've had a very busy week, and I don't know if that will work out now the way I want. I didn't want to use a ton of art off of Google because, I don't know what I should or could use, and I know I've done that before, but I don't know how nice that is to do or not, So I wanted to have some art of my own to represent all these characters, but there's a lot of them, and I don't know if I'll finish it in time. So if you're seeing this at a different time, or you see there's no art, or I messed something up, just know that is my bad. I'm going to try my best here. The art's going to be a little scuffed because I definitely was in a rush of making it, and maybe I'll touch it up later. But yeah, I'm going to try my best. So we're just going to quickly do a once-over of every character that I have found that have been suggested yet. And just to show off them all, and all that, and see what ones you guys think would be good fits to this island. Sorry, I won't be saying names for these suggestions as I do them because I'm running a little low on time and I gotta go through this and stuff. And sorry about that, but I will be trying to put the comments I saw that recommended these characters alongside them. I'm gonna try my best anyways. So this is in the very random order, but say for first we have Ian Jr., who is a joke character made in the Sonic Forces creator character thing that is kind of, canon now. And he could be a really fun addition. Yeah, that, or I can put him in, like, the island I'm going to do with the kids, with some more expanded kind of Sonic characters and maybe fan and OC characters? We'll see. But Ian Jr. could be a really funny one, if I'm being honest. I'm going to have to try and make a me of him, if anything. Then we have a Sonic Fleetway character, or a Sonic the Comic character, which I will say Sonic the Comic is probably the part of the franchise I'm the least knowledgeable on. I really got to do some research on it. But it is Short Fuse, was one of the many characters I've gotten from the comic book suggested. And he's an interesting one for sure. I don't exactly, it looks like a roboticized squirrel, but I don't know. I don't got a ton of information on him, and sorry I didn't do enough research on all of it, That is definitely my bad. We got Tina, or Tana, the Hedgehog, or Sonic the Hedgehog's little sister from a manga series, if I remember right, when he had the alter ego and everything, which could be a really fun addition. I might add it to the second island where I'm doing the classics and stuff, but we'll see what you guys think. I think she could be either or would kind of work. But yeah, another interesting character that I've not seen in a very long time. I've at least heard of her before though. Then we got Akhult, the killer whale from the rebooted Archie Sonic, I'm pretty sure, is where he's from. He's one of the egg bosses, and he has a pretty cool design overall. It was mentioned with some of the other characters from that. Like I mentioned, it's going to be a little scuffed, and everybody's going to be pretty randomly selected in here, because the way I have it all set up. That's my bad. But yeah, Akhult could be an interesting one. Then we have Alice Acorn, or Sally's mom, was also recommended, which, again, could be a pretty neat one, like how I have Alina or anything, but we could see. I'll probably try and add in, but I don't know. What do you guys think on her, for the first, second, or... Mind you, we can just keep making islands until we make them all eventually, but she's another interesting one. Then we got a giant group that has to be some of the most suggested characters. I got 2 in a row, mind you, of giant groups that were suggested a whole lot. First off, we have Coconuts, Scratch, and Grounder from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Have been suggested a whole lot by a lot of people. And I feel like personally they would fit really well for the classic characters I'm doing on the second island. But you guys can let me know what you think of that. I'm going to have to try and do them because so many people really want them. A lot of people must have watched Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, growing up. Really funny show, Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts could be really funny additions. I know some people want them to be rivals with Sage and stuff, but we'll have to see where they go. And then we have the entirety of the Deadly Six. So the ones that we don't have is, of course, Zavok, Xena, Zumon, Zik, and Zor. I don't have any of them on this island because I mentioned it was Zaz a little bit. I'm trying to think if we should add the Deadly Six to the first island because they would take up a lot of slots to do them. Or would they be more fun on the second island with a lot more of the out there characters? You guys can let me know what you think, but we're going to have to see with that because it is a very big group, but I completely agree with all the comments saying you can't really just have Zaz, especially since he's not even my favorite of the Deadly Six, So I think they should all be together in some way. So we should see where we put them. I'm kind of leaning towards moving Zaz with them to the second island, but let me know what you guys think. And then I got suggested more recently was Night and Dawn from IDW, which are 2 pretty cool characters, fun ones from a little side story. Run a radio station and, handyman, janitor guy. Could be fun little additions if anybody wants those. Now we got one I was actually surprised not many people said. It was only mentioned pretty recently was Mina Mongoose from Archie, which I thought was a more popular character, but also it could be that people might have thought I've already done it or thought other people suggested it, but I think she could be a really fun one on the first or the second island, to be completely honest. So Mina is one I'm interested in doing. Mind you, I'm going to probably try and do most of these eventually. But again, we'll have to see with time and space, Another one I got suggested a couple times was Fleetway Supersonic, which is very different from regular Supersonic. Just to start off, that's the thing I've known forever. He's a little more crazy, but I don't know his full story is the thing. All I know is he's a pretty interesting take on the Supersonic, as a character. and a design a lot of people love. So he could be a fun one to add, but maybe he could be on the second island or the more wacky island with expanded more characters. But let me know what you guys think. And then we got Aram from Sonic Dream Team, which is a game I have not been able to play yet, but it looks super interesting. And I'm not seeing too much on her, but she does got a neat design, and she was mentioned a little bit. So if anybody finds her interesting, she might be a good one for the second island though. Then kind of in the same vein of how I mentioned Fleetway could maybe go on like the island with the kids and stuff and more out there characters. This one is technically in a Sonic game, but it's Ashura, the glitch from the original Sonic games. I can't remember off the top of my head what one it was, but it's the glitch where it turns green and black, which is what they based like Scourge and Surge, especially Surge off of in the original classic Sonic games. And he could be a fun one, but I think he would really fit on the OC and more out of the box, not fully canon character kind of island. But yeah. Then another one I saw a couple times was Barry from Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, the player character. And he could be a really fun one to have on either, to be honest. He's got a nice and simple design to him. And could be good friends with Tails, as mentioned in comments. Another one that got mentioned was Ben Mutsky, which is Mutsky, Sonic's pet dog from Archie, but after the reboot, he became a full-fledged character, which in general, the Mutsky stuff in Archie is just an interesting thing to look at. But Ben Mutsky was a really funny thing when it happened, but he did not get to be around for too long, sadly. But he could be a fun one in general for, any island. Then we got another trio from a Sonic cartoon. We got Boko, Deco, and Bakuno. I'm probably butchering them all, but it's been a while since I watched Sonic X. I should probably proof-check pronunciation, but I'm really sorry. I'm a little down to the wire on recording all this. But yeah, the free robots that Eggman had for shenaniganizing and all that in Sonic X. I feel like they would be really fun to put in with Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts, whatever island they go to. So probably the second one. I feel like that could be a really funny group. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. Then I was also recommended Cosmo's Family, which is an interesting one because we got her mom, Urfina, I'm pretty sure. And then I can't remember, like I said, I was trying to do some research, but I kind of ran out of time. This character is like Galaxina, which I think is more of a friend, but could be a sister. But I'd probably lump her in with the family group like the guy mentioned. And then it's kind of a spoiler, I guess, but apparently I couldn't remember this, but when looking it up, the Dark Oak or the Metarex guy is actually a father, or Lucas, which is something I have completely forgotten about from when I was a kid, but that could be a really funny one, especially if I make him Dark Oak. But yeah, the Cosmo family could be an interesting one to do, to be honest, but we'll have to see. It is a couple of them in the group, but all very interesting suggestions. Then we got one I feel like should be on the first island, but could totally be on the second island because it has more of a classic vibe to it. But as a character I definitely need to make a me of, and people have been suggesting a lot, is Uncle Chuck, which is an amazing character. I really like Uncle Chuck, and I gotta really get around to making him. So we'll have to see what island we want to slot him into. I feel like he could fit perfectly on both, if I'm being honest. Then I have had people mention if I was going to put any more human characters on the island, which I haven't actually decided, but it would be probably good for Eggman and Maria to have more humans on the first island if we want to go for that for a couple of the last 10. But let me know what you guys think, because one that was suggested quite a bit was Chris Thorndike, which would be a really, really funny one, but I feel like would be the punching bag, Mind you, I will probably make a Chris Thorndike for either the second or the third if I need to, if I don't for the first. But he could be an interesting one and pretty funny. And then another one I heard a couple times was Commander Abraham Towers from, Gun in general. And he could be a neat one to have with Shadow, Maria, and all of them. But I don't know if he's, liked enough to be on the first island or not. Could be another fun one to have on the second island, though. But he is an interesting one. Then some more Sonic characters I did get suggested one time for a very interesting one. It was the conductor's wife, and the conductor's kid. The whole family, the three of them. And they're from Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, but they've been in a lot of expanded stuff like artwork and the comic book run. And Could be a really fun trio to do. Really funny. I forget, IDW has so many extra characters that have really fun designs and stuff, you know? So it could be fun to add some more IDW in, or even Archie. Then one I've been suggested a couple times is Clutch the Opossum, which could be a really fun one to do. He has a really unique design, and is a really cool villain, and could definitely be added to both. It's another one of those things when I could see it going either way, you know? But yeah, Clutch could be a really interesting one. I feel like I'll have to make a me of him eventually because he's just got such a cool design. And then along with Clutch, I've been getting suggestions for Mimic the Octopus, which is another really cool villain from IDW. Very ruthless. It could be a super fun one to try. A little more complicated, but it would be neat to see what I could come up with for it. So he could be another fun one to add to even the first island. And along with, Mimic, I've gotten a couple suggestions for the OG Diamond Cutters, the Whisper's friends that Mimic betrayed. I think all of them got really solid designs and could be really fun ones to add. I gotta definitely think about first or second island, because all I know is depending where I add them, we gotta add in another Whisper to go along with them, and Mimic should be in the same world with them. But again, I only got 10 left on the main, and that could take up quite a bit. But very, very cool characters to add. A really fun suggestion. Then I got 2 more from Fleetway here that I'm not very familiar with. Somebody suggested to Embani in pajamas from Fleetway, which seems to be a cat and a dog, and from the very little I've seen on research, they seem to be friends with Fleetway Supersonic, which is interesting. Again, I gotta do more research into Fleetway as a thing in general, but both of them could be pretty neat additions. They got very different designs. I'd probably have to take my own take on them. But 2 pretty neat suggestions overall. Then one I've gotten a couple times is Negative Eggman. I'm not going to say his actual way of saying his name because I got a pretty bad lisp and stuff sometimes, and I don't want to risk it, you know? But yeah, Negative Eggman could be an interesting one to add with Blaze and everything, but he could also fit on the second island to have another Eggman over there. I don't know, either way could be fun. Then one I haven't gotten suggested at all more than once from what I can remember is Elias Acorn, or Sally's older brother, which I feel like is a really cool character that was always underused, even in Archie. Could be a super fun addition to either island, but I feel like he'd be one of those ones that could just work on the first one because Sally is there. And at the same time, I got suggested in that same suggestion to do Jeffrey St. John, which is just a character that he just wants to remind people exists and things happen. Jeffrey is a really interesting character because he is just a constant jerk, or other questionable words to Sonic and Cass, you know? He's kind of a sleazebag, but a very interesting character in a way, and hugged to some real world people that may or may not have just, ruined his reputation even more so. But Jeffrey could be a really funny character if you guys want more of an annoying, slightly joke, or, heel, I guess. But yeah, those are 2 pretty fun suggestions, especially Elias. I feel like he doesn't get much love. Then I have gotten suggestions for Elise from Sonic 06. Which could be a fun one to add to either island if I'm being honest, because I could do a little bit of a cartoony take on it. I feel like she would fit better in the franchise if she has a slightly more cartoony look, like they did in more recent artwork. But yeah, Elisa's a character that definitely got handed a very bad hand, Some stuff happened in that game, and she's associated with it. And she's just been scrubbed from the franchise, other than some artwork and stuff. So, who knows, maybe that could be a really fun one to add to either or. Then another funny one to add I got a suggestion for was Eraser Jin, which could be a pretty interesting me to try and make. And, in general, it could be a little whack, but it's a really funny suggestion because I haven't seen anybody, except for one dude, from what I can remember, suggest him, at least at the time when I was recording this. And it's just such a funny one. I feel like he could be just a butt, like just a jerk. But yeah, he might be fun to add. Then, going along with Eraser Jin, I should probably mention Shara has been recommended a couple times to represent the storybook games. And she could be another really fun one. I feel like she needs to go on the island that I put Eraser Jin on, though. You know what I mean? I feel like both of them should be on the same island for the hatred and, whatever can happen there could be pretty funny. In that same vein, I did hear people suggest I should just do the storybook ones here, is Merlina, which could be a really fun one, and King Arthur, which is one that could just be crazy. And both of them could be so funny, especially if you have all 4 of these storybook characters on the same island. So I don't know where I could fit that, but all of those would be really funny, and I feel like I need to look into doing. And then we have Loop the Wolf and her daughters, or adopted daughters kind of thing, the wolves he took in, which all three could be very interesting ones. Loop the Wolf is one of those characters I always kind of forget about, and then I'm like, oh yes, he was very important actually. But that's another one I think could be pretty neat. Might need a slightly stylizer to fit with my Miis a little bit more. But yeah, all three of them could be neat additions. Then two other characters I should mention here because of a suggestion that was made is Larry Lynx, which is another character from the Archie Sonic comics. Who's a pretty funny kind of character with a rough power and stuff. And one of my favorite Archie Sonic characters that has been suggested a couple times is Shard the Metal Sonic, who's like the OG Metal Sonic that world turned good. And I mentioned both of them now because somebody did say I shouldn't add in the Secret Freedom Fighters, which is Elias, the Loop's daughters, Larry Lynx, Shard, and Silver, which could be fun to add that entire group in, but again, it does take up a big chunk, you know? But yeah, the Secret Freedom Fighters could all be really fun to add, because that is a pretty neat little chunk of Archie lore. But again, Larry Lynx is a pretty fun character, and Shard is one of my favorite Archie characters. I would definitely love to add Shard to the main island, but I could see if I should move him to the second island. Then I also got a suggestion for Gold the Tenric, which was from the Archie Sonic comics, one of Silver's allies from the future, if I remember right. Been a long time since I've seen some of these stories, but see, he's always got a really cool design. So again, one that could fit on either island depending on what you guys think too. But very cool design and a very nice suggestion. Then a pretty funny suggestion I got was Stacy and Percy from Sonic Boom. The twins that look identical. They could be pretty funny ones to add to any island, but I feel like I should add them where if I add in some Boom variants of characters, you know? I haven't gotten recommended to do Boom variants, but if I did, I feel like they'd probably have to go with them. But I could always make a slightly stylized to make them fit, you know, in this one too. Pretty funny suggestions though. Then another one I got suggested, I would have to put, I think, on even the third island when I'm talking about OC's fan characters and very extended lore characters maybe, is the Sonic concept design, which was the rabbit, which could be a fun one to try, but I feel like he would have to be second island or third island. Like I keep mentioning, third island is going to be a little more different than the first two, but I feel like he would have to go there. But a very cool suggestion though. And then another two characters that are very interesting choices is Shard the Echidna and X from Sonic the Dark Brotherhood, or Sonic Chronicles the Dark Brotherhood, you know? I feel like Shard should be one that I definitely do, you know? She's been suggested a couple times in a really cool character that sadly isn't really used anymore because the dude, you know, doesn't want them to and stuff, but it's kind of sad to just have a character like that get thrown away. So she could be a really fun one to add. And Ix is the villain in that game, and a pretty cool one at that. He could be another neat one to add on the second or the first, or, you know, whatever. Overall, I think both are pretty cool suggestions though. Then one I got suggested a couple times was a Johnny Lightfoot and Porky Lewis from Fleetway or Sonic the Comic, which Johnny Lightfoot is the only one I really got, you know, any knowledge on. And they both could be really fun additions because people are pointing out I could do it to represent Sonic the Comic on the main island or island, you know? Again, I'm going to be doing two islands, so I'll represent them no matter what, but we should really think about if we want to add in some Sonic the Comic or Fleetway Sonic characters. And I think Johnny Lightfoot especially is probably one I would think is at the top of the list, but let me know what you guys think about that. Then we got one that's been suggested more recently, which I gotta respect because it's one of my favorites, is Mechasonic Mark II. Or even the Scrap variant from the Scrap Island, which is such a good story. I feel like I'll have to talk about it sometime. But Mechasonic is one I 100% want to add to an island. Whether it's the first or the second, we'll have to decide, you know. But I really want to do Mechasonic, and he's a really, really cool suggestion. So thank you guys that suggested for Mechasonic. I definitely want to add him. Quickly, in that same vein, I also got recommended or suggested to make Neo Metal Sonic, which is another really cool one. There's just so many, you guys have so many cool suggestions. There's so many cool Sonic characters and designs. Like gosh, hopefully we can get to all of them. I could see Neo going on the third or the second, maybe the first if we can slot him in, but Neo is one I'm definitely going to have to look at. He could be really fun to try and make into a Mii. And also in that vein, I got recommended to do Sonic 3.0, which could be a fun one. I feel like he could be, though, a Metal Sonic for the second island, but either way, I think he could be a little fun addition, you know? It's either that or just make him Metal Sonic's, like, annoying older brother, I guess. But that could go for Mecha or Neo, too, you know? And then I also got a little recommendation for a Shadow Android, which could be another fun one to actually add in to kind of have like a metal shadow, you know? But, you know, we'll see. He could also fit on the third or the second, but, you know, let me know what you guys think about Shadow Android, you know? Then another one I got recommended was Nazo, which is a character that is definitely fan built, because if I remember right, he had like, there's one image of him for Sonic X, and we don't even know what he was, but the fans took it and ran with it. So I feel like Nazo, with how I have the main island going, and even the second, would have to be a third island character, where I think fan characters and fan like characters that I technically can, like Ashura or whatever, could go. But let me know what you guys think about Nazo. He could be an interesting one to do, but I feel like the third island would kind of be his place, which I know is really funny to think about first, second, and third island, but yeah. But thank you for the suggestion. It's been a while since I've heard about Nazo, you know? In the same vein as Nazo though, I got recommended a Reformed Infinite, which I feel like could be a fun idea to do. I feel like he should be on a different island than regular Infinite though, you know what I mean? And I feel like, again, he'd kind of fit in that fan adaptations of characters and stuff kind of island. I feel like that's where he would kind of, you know, fit to be. But could be a neat one to try. Then I got a suggestion for Long Claw from Sonic the Hedgehog movies, which is a really good one actually, and I have been asked if I'm going to do a movie Sonic Island. That's the thing you guys think about. I was thinking of putting the movie characters on the second island, but if you could tell by this video, and how I'm already talking about a third island for other characters, I don't even know anymore. I might need to start an island that starts off with the movie Sonic cast to fit even more Sonic characters on it at this point. And you leave the second island to start off with the classics. But wherever I do that, I'm gonna try and add a Long Claw. But yeah, so he could be a really fun one, is what I'm basically saying. But yeah, the amount of islands might get a little out of hand, and I might get a little confused, I guess. That's my bad. Then we also got a suggestion for Lord Mordred, which is another Archie villain from the Egg Bosses. Could be a fun one, kind of like a Cobra or, you know, a snake thing. Again, another character I gotta do more research on because it's been so long since I've gotten to read those, because I don't have any physical versions of them right now. So I'm gonna have to find a way to read more Archie again. It's been too long. But yeah, he could be a fun one to add. Then we got Lumina from Sonic Shuffle, which always reminded me so much of Cosmo when I was younger. I thought they were related characters, but she's kind of her own thing actually. At least I believe so. But yeah, she could be a little fun one to add. I could add her as a pet though too, you know? Then another little trio for a funny one in a way is Sonic's band mates, or Match the Rabbit, Max the monkey, and Sharp the I can't remember if he's a rooster or chicken or something else. That's definitely my bad if I get that wrong. But those three to be added to the game to be in Sonic's band, which I feel like second island could be really funny because I already got Sonia and Manic for Sonic's band on the first island. So maybe the three of them could be added along with a classic Vector to make the whole gang, you know? But we can see. Again, I might run out of room on the second island with how many great suggestions you guys have. So it's definitely going to be a whole thing. But yeah, all three pretty fun ideas. And then another suggestion for a super amazing character is Jules the Hedgehog, the actual Jules, or Sonic's dad from Archie, who is roboticized, but a super cool character. I like Jules a lot. And I know she wasn't suggested with him, but I would probably put Bernadette with him if I put him in the second island and make him like the father of classic Sonic. But I know some people want him on the main island, along with Uncle Chuck, and with Alina and stuff, but we'll see what you guys think too. Either way, I think he would be a really fun addition to either or, you know what I mean? And then I got a suggestion for Razor the Shark, which is a super cool character from post-reboot Archie that didn't get to, you know, be around for much, or very long, but really cool because it is a shark character. But yeah, the character again didn't get to do much, but surely, should say honestly, I think he would be cool on either island though. A very interesting character. Then one mentioned in passing when a guy was talking about some characters was, and I feel like it was suggested, and I could not find the comment, was for some Prime characters. And it was some of the Rebels, like Rebel Rouge, Rebel Knuckles, Rusty Rose, and Nine. And I would also probably slap Dread in there because he's, you know, pretty cool looking. But yeah, some Prime characters have been mentioned. I feel like I saw it, but I could not find the comment. Sorry about that. But all these Prime characters could be pretty neat additions. I feel like they could go on the first, second, third, fourth at this point. The spiraling out of control of how many islands we got going on. But yeah, the Prime characters could be neat ones to add in somewhere. Then we got Shara from the OVA Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which is a character I have not heard about in so long. I used to watch this movie every time I went over to my grandparents, constantly. It was the only thing me and my brothers wanted to rent, that and Gumby. But, you know, very, very obscure character, but could be really fun to redesign into, you know, fitting in with the Mii's. I think he kinda human, kinda not character too. But yeah, that's another fun suggestion. Then we got Gadget from Sonic Forces, another really fun character because the fans have kind of taken Gadget into his own. He's one of those pro tags like Barry is, and I think he could be a fun addition to honestly any island. So let me guys know what you think about Gadget. Then we got another character I love so much and has been suggested a couple times, I feel like, is Gamma. And with how I did Omega, I feel like Gamma could be a fun addition to the main one, or even the second if you guys think it would be too much of an overlap to have Omega and Gamma. But either way, I feel like Gamma could be fun anywhere. He's a really fun character and very cool. Then I've gotten a couple suggestions for Heavy King. I haven't gotten any suggestions for his buddies yet, but I feel like Heavy King could fit on the second island if I got room for all the classic characters to interact with, you know? But again, a very specific pick and a really cool one. I haven't seen too many of those types of characters, like Egg Pawns and some of the other classic villains, but Heavy King could be a really neat one. Then we got one that has been suggested a few times now by certain people, and I didn't mean to be like ignoring it, but Chip from Sonic Unleashed, and in that same vein, somebody mentioned that the Werehog could be cool. And I think both could be amazing additions to any island, and maybe I should do it on the second or, another island for the Werehog, but Chip has to be with the Werehog wherever I put him. But I will try and do a Chip here eventually. I just gotta decide where he goes, But Chip is a really great character. And then I got possibly the most obscure suggestion I have gotten in this entire series is Sonic. It's a metal-looking Sonic from an old kid's book, I think in the UK or something. Mind you, I have no knowledge of him other than his design I have seen once or twice mentioned in Metal Sonic stuff, So that's all I know, but this has got to be the most obscure one I've heard mentioned yet, and he could be really funny to add on to like the second island or even the third. But thank you for such an obscure suggestion. That is a very deep cut. Then one I feel like I probably should have done sooner, but I definitely did not think about it, is Jewel from IDW. Another character that was, originals that they made for it, and I feel like she could fit greatly on the first island, but I gotta figure out with my room. But is a character I feel like I did kind of gloss over when I was adding in IDW rips, which is my bad. Then I got another suggestion for another Fleetway character, which is Techno, which is a character, again, I don't know much about the Sonic the Comics / Fleetway comics, so that is my bad. I'll have to do my more research on them, but I have seen her design before, and I know people like her a lot. So she could be a really fun addition to, like, any island, really? But let me know what you guys think. Then I've gotten some funny suggestions to add in Black Doom, whether it's a pet to hunt Shadow or it's just a full character. Either would be really funny. And Gerald Robotnik, or, Shadow's dads, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Both could be pretty neat additions and very out there. I feel like some people want Gerald because it would kind of complete the Eggman family that we got going on, so I could see him being put on the first island for sure. But again, with all these, let me know what you think. Then we got another very obscure, but I feel like the fans have taken on a lot more, is Terra from Sonic Extreme. I feel like she's one of those ones that could fit on an island with all like Nazo and Good Infinite too, but I could totally put it on the first island. So I don't know what to do with her yet, but you guys can let me know what you think. She's a very, very neat character, and I remember her from some old animations and stuff I watched all the time from when I was younger. Always thought she was just another Sonic character, but never used, I guess. And then another funny one I've gotten is one person I'm pretty sure mentioned, the President, which ever since Life Pharaoh videos, the President in Sonic the Hedgehog has just got to be the funniest thing to me. He could be a super funny one to add, but he's got to be like a joke character, you know what I mean? In that same vein, another human would be Professor Victoria, which is a character I don't know the most about right now because I haven't got a chance to consume a lot of the content she is in yet, but she definitely feels like they inserted her for some reason. I surely hope that she's going to be important eventually, but she's got a really cool kind of human design for Sonic, and she sticks out enough where I think she has to be important for Son, but could be another fun one. And then another suggestion I got is for another Archie character is Dulcie the Dragon, but her redesign during the reboot, so she's actually standing instead of a full-on dragon. Again, another funny / really fun one to do. Very cool character, and could be neat to try. Might be a little complicated though, but cool suggestion. Then one I heard a couple times was Dodonpon from Sonic Racing, Team Sonic Racing I should say, in Sonic Cross Worlds. Definitely would be a pretty funny character to add, and pretty interesting on how to make him work though. But yeah, I'll keep him in mind and let me know what you guys think of him. Then again, when I mentioned movie characters and if I'll do a movie island, I might need to do a movie island, but multiple people actually have suggested Agent Stone and Tom. I feel like Agent Stone and Tom could be really fun additions, especially Agent Stone. I know people have stylized him to fit in with modern and classic, so that could be a really fun addition. But if I make a movie island, I feel like I'd have to do Agent Stone and Tom and all that too, you know? But I gotta plan that out. But let me know what you guys think of Tom and Agent Stone. I feel like both could be really fun additions either way, you know? Then one I got suggested quite a few times was Heavy and Bomb. And I feel like Heavy and Bomb, because they would represent, you know, Knuckles Chaotix and be the last chaotic, I guess, number. Could be really funny additions, but I might add them in the second island if I get the chance to go along with all the classics, you know? But again, thank you to everybody that has suggested Heavy and Bomb. It's like Scratch and Grounded. They were suggested a whole lot. I have not gotten around to them, which is my bad. And then another character that was suggested was Wendy from Tails' is it Sky Patrol, I'm pretty sure? Which is one of Tails' villains, you know? Could be a neat one. Very niche character again, but another Sonic villain. Could be a funny one to add, but we'll have to see. Again, probably second island. And then I was suggested for Zoe from Sonic Boom. And again, if I make a Sonic Boom characters, I might add her in with them. If not, she could fit in as another character on the main island, people said, for a rival for Cosmo. Or I could just add in another island with another Tails, but we could see. Then I have also been suggested Wakidna, which is the glitched Knuckles sprite. I'm pretty sure from the Knuckles Chaotix. That was the inspiration for some Archie characters and Dr. Starline. But again, he would definitely be like third island, where I put in like Ashura and stuff, and other glitch characters or fan characters, if you know what I mean. Then a couple little side suggestions that are not individual characters, and if I miss your character, I will put them right here quick. I'm very sorry if I missed your comment, or in general missed your character. Leave them in the comment again, and I'll probably do another update like this eventually for other characters that have been suggested. I have gotten the suggestion before to do a Sega themed island with characters from Sonic, like Crossworld and All-Stars Racing, like, you know, I or Joe or Billy Hatcher, Amigo, Beat, that kind of thing. Knights, you know? And I feel like I'm gonna have to eventually do a crossover island. And having Sega characters as the main crossover could be fun. Maybe I'll do Nintendo characters with it, like Smash Bros or something. But I will have to think about doing a crossover island. I'm not gonna do it for these Sonic ones exactly, but thank you for that suggestion, and I think it could be really fun. I have to see if I can get to it, you know? But I may do a full crossover island with a lot of Sega characters, because somebody said I should add in Knights and their favorite character Jackal and use the classic designs, and they would definitely be characters I try and make if I add in a ton of Sega characters onto an island, you know? So I will keep that in mind. I'm sorry if I don't get to it, you know, anytime soon or anything, but I can only try my best, I guess. And another one I heard, which was an interesting one, is to do a Mario and Sonic Olympic island, where I just put in the full cast of the Olympic Games and just kind of let it play out, you know? And that could be a fun little spin-off one, you know, is do some Mario characters to mix with the Sonic characters. So I'll have to see on that one too. Again, can't promise anything coming anytime soon, because I'm just one dude doing all these me's, but thank you guys for all these suggestions. It's been really cool of how much support and how many of you suggest so many cool characters throughout this giant franchise. The Sonic franchise is so cool and varied. It's been really cool to just see what everybody has to say, or characters they would like to see, because like from every corner of the franchise. And some people said it would be really cool if I could represent it as much as possible, and I really hope to do that with the extra islands too, you know? But yeah, sorry if this video is a little out of hand and huge and crazy with all these suggestions. Again, if I don't have artwork here or it's really scuffed, you'll know I kind of messed up with my deadline and stuff, or if it's split up, I don't know. But again, thank you for all these suggestions. I'll leave any extra suggestions I might have missed here. I tried my best, but we can always update this list eventually, you know? But yeah, so again, thank you for everything. Sorry I'm very confuzzled and all over the place with some of this. It's a lot of just stuff, you know? Just a lot of stuff. I'm gonna try my best, and we'll see where we go from here. And I'm gonna try my best to start the second island so that we don't gotta rush who we pick for the first island, you know? I will not stop, you know, first island content. I'll probably be combining 2 islands into each episode eventually, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that was all the characters that you guys have suggested so far. Again, that I have remembered, written down, or actually taken photos of. But yeah, and if I missed yours and didn't see it at all, that is my bad. I got a ton of suggestions, and you guys came up with cool characters throughout the whole entire Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, from comic to movies to manga to old OVAs and everything. It's really cool. It's just like the Sonic franchise is so huge, and sometimes I forget about that. And I hope these doodles are fun, even if some of them I scuffed, to represent them in some way for right now, until I can get to making them of me, or figuring all that out. I will be making more Sonic art, and I'll probably touch up some of these. It's a lot of characters, and characters I'm not even that familiar with. So I thought it was cool to go through and look at all these, and see what they're kind of about. I should really start doing the series when I go over characters and kind of learn for myself, because there's parts of this franchise I've never actually interacted with, like the Fleetway comics. But yeah, thank you guys for all your suggestions. It's a little crazy. And the last thing I'll touch on before ending this is right now, by the time this is recorded, I have decided on the classics going to the second island to kind of be separate from having two Sonics and all that. I know that might suck with interaction stuff, but just know a couple of the classic characters are definitely going there. And I'm thinking of moving the Deadly Six to either the second island, or I have to move them all to this island. So my big 3 points I would touch on is, do you guys think putting all 6 of the Deadly Six on the main island is a good option? Or do you think we should add in more humans, so it's not just, Eggman and Maria, mainly like Gerald, to kind of finish off that Shadow and Eggman family kind of thing? Or do you guys have like a suggestion for more comic book characters and stuff? I can't really guarantee that the first island is going to be finished anytime soon, because we got to kind of figure out who we think. So yeah, the main ones I would touch on is 2 options I see as a good point. People brought up more humans, and you got to have the whole Deadly Six together. And mind you, they could be on the second island, but that's what I'm just going to put here. So either way is kind of fine with me. Maybe I'll put a poll out about it, but it's definitely something we got to think about, But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this complete mess of a video. I hope it was slightly entertaining, and the artwork could at least be funny at times. So anyways, that's all I got for this one, and hopefully I get back on to the regular Tomodachi life / Sonic Racing Crossroads and other Sonic content, grind, kind of schedule. This video took a lot away from all those videos, but I really wanted to make it to just show I do see your suggestions, and I appreciate them all, and thank you all for all the support and interaction you've done with this Tomodachi Life series. It's super cool, and the channel is a lot bigger than I ever thought it would be by this time. Thank you all for that. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all you do for this channel, and I'll see you guys later. God bless.
Here we go, it's the end of the show. Hear them, they're calling your name.